artist, Monster D. You have markers on your hips. You should take those chisels out and draw on your eyes and lips, Monster D. Corpse paint is a staple of shock rockers and horror hosts, and I do believe, and I quote, you'd scare less. Welcome to the real Monster D. That would be me. Get ready for an entire month of monstrous holiday cheer. Or is that holiday fear? Today, we're going to kick things off with the top 5 Christmas monsters. That is, 5 fearsome beasts who are ever and forever intertwined with the holiday of Christmas. Let us begin. Number 5 is a ferocious font of Icelandic folklore. This is the Yule Cat. This creature stalks the night tundras looking for poor souls who are wandering outside who have not been given any new clothing for Christmas. Oh, this cat actually belongs to an entire family of folkloric giants. I suppose, if nothing else, this is one giant tale for people to not leave their cats outside. Ugh. Number 4 might seem a little bit like cheating, but I believe it counts. This is the Krampus. Yes, cheating because Krampus technically is not a Christmas character. You see, the Krampus actually has its own holiday. Sort of a Nordic mythology. This creature actually celebrates its own holiday on December 5th. But forever known as the Anti-Claus, this creature goes out seeking the naughty children, and depending upon which version you listen to, either puts them in a bag, takes them away, puts them to some sort of hard labor. Just generally something not fun, as far away from fun and presents as you can possibly get. And that is the reason he is so inextricably linked to Christmas, because they call the Krampus the Anti-Claus. But the good thing about the Krampus is, if you make it to Christmas, at all, Christmas Eve, essentially, once you've survived December 5th, you're fine. You're going to make it. Apparently you made the nice list, and you will be getting presents. So, yay for getting past the Krampus. We're almost there. Number 3 is Abominable. The Abominable Snowman from the Rankin Bass Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Coming in with classic stop-motion animation, this creature is almost like a snowy white King Kong in a certain sense, putting on some genuine scares for the little kids watching this holiday special for the very first time. Of course, later on, this beast is soothed and learns how to interact with its would-be victims in a much more nice fashion, even putting a star on top of the tall tree. Number 2, is too much. This is the Heat Miser. Now, perhaps I could have also included Cold Miser here, but to me, Cold Miser is just a little too close to being just another Jack Frost. Nothing to him. But Heat Miser is this short, tubby, angry-looking, just red and orange character with flaming hair atop his head. And a rather unique flair for singing. Actually, not necessarily as mean as you might assume, despite being called a miser. I mean, after all, it is in the song. He is Mr. Green Christmas. Nothing too wrong about that, right? And the #1 Christmas monster. Speaking of green Christmas, who else could it be but Mr. Grinch? Yes, the Grinchiest Grinch that ever Grinched, standing high atop his mountain and bemoaning the noise, noise, noise. The Grinch is the font of both everything that is anti-Christmas and a font of the actual meaning of Christmas itself. He has that split sort of persona that switches towards the end of the short and is inextricably bound that way to the whole Christmas spirit. In fact, if you go back through all of these monsters, they all have a certain level of positivity to them. I mean, the Grinch turns good in the end and kind in the end. Abominable turns kind in the end. Heat Miser helps several characters to change the weather to bring back Santa Claus. Krampus, while not necessarily nice, has been known to spare people from time to time and to give people some warnings and reminders. Yule Cat, okay, the Yule Cat may just be the one exception. I'm pretty sure the Yule Cat is just nothing but furry ferocity and meanness. But oh well, a cat is going to be a cat, right? Well, I hope you have enjoyed this special 5 Christmas monsters list. If you can think of any more monsters of this holiday that you think should be on this list, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Care to put a little cheer in your ear? Never fear, for I am going to review a most merry metal album today. This is Monster Ballads XMas. For those of you who may have not been around, at a certain point in the 90s, there was an entire series of albums being released, and all up into the 2000s, called Monster Ballads. These albums showed the softer side of these heavy metal bands. Even though, ironically, many of the bands that were chosen were already leaning towards sort of a softer side of metal anyway. So, certainly more ballady than monstrous in a lot of cases. But this Christmas album certainly follows suit. But if you want something a little bit different from your usual suspects for the Christmas song playlist, this may help you out a little bit. So, going right down the list here, if you are at all familiar with Monster Ballads, you'll know some of these names: Skid Row, Winger, Janie Lane from Warrant, Twisted Sister, LA Guns, Firehouse, Danger Danger, Faster Pussycat, and so on. And yeah, to be honest, the instrumentals are a little bit heavier in many of these songs, but they, for the most part, the songs here stay pretty traditional. I mean, Jingle Bells is faster, there's some riffing going on for sure, but it is a typical sort of a soft, heavy metal kind of a song. One would probably even place a lot of these in the hard rock category instead of metal. A lot of metal purists, I'm certain, would. But to give highlights to some of the better tracks on here, I would definitely go for I'll Be Home for Christmas with Twisted Sister. Actually, put a thumb in that, because there's more about that later on. But actually, out of this whole album, surprisingly, the most heavy song on here, in my opinion, comes of all bands, from Stryper. They do a live rendition of Winter Wonderland here, and wow! It starts out with this nice sort of riff intro and an actual some spoken word by the lead singer there, Oz Fox, I believe. And so that one, to me, is the most fun. I have a feeling a lot of people will gain a lot of sort of fun nostalgia from Christmas Love, the final track on here, by Billy Idol. And that is very, very much just a Christmas ballad. It really will not put you in mind of anything like White Wedding or anything like that. The way he sings at this point in his life puts me more in mind of a band, something like Modern Mouse or someone like that. But more relaxed, more subdued. And yeah, it is a generally calm, but less calm than traditional Christmas album. Oh, Silent Night by Faster Pussycat, probably the least expected out of this whole collection, because that is more along the lines of an industrial song. So if you're into industrial, that one might stand out to you. You might enjoy that. Going back to Twisted Sister, this one is I'll Be Home for Christmas with Twisted Sister with special guest Lita Ford. And that song is okay, but if you really want to get twisted, then you want to go with Twisted Sister's entire album, Twisted Christmas. Stay tuned for the next holiday episode of The Real Monster D for this review. Welcome to the drawing challenge. In keeping with today's monstrous holiday theme, I thought I would pluck one of those Christmas monsters out and really monsterize it to even bigger kaiju proportions. Yes, today I am going to attempt to turn the Krampus into an anti-claus kaiju in 5 minutes or less. So here is my time-telling device, and we have begun. What would be an ideal way to make sure that this version of the Krampus looks absolutely enormous? Well, first, I'm going to get this creature's face nice and front and center. A sort of slight reindeer look on his face and nose. Nice and angry. Add some teeth. And then bring in those antlers. So what are your thoughts on the Krampus and the entire Krampusnacht tradition? Is this something that you have experienced yourself before? Have you found yourself confusingly walking by a Krampusnacht parade? I know in recent years they have gained more and more notoriety in the United States and other countries outside of the Krampusnacht place of origin. And we are at the point now where this creature has been very much commercialized to the point of getting many, many movies. Let's see here. Might go for sort of a Heisei era kaiju feel, making it big. Actually, this might wind up looking a little more like sort of a movie poster. Because I'm going to even over-exaggerate just how big this Krampus would be, even if it were to appear in a kaiju type film. And you see this very often. You know, a creature is already supposed to be giant, but then you see the posters, and the posters make it look even bigger. Ridiculously bigger. And that is what I'm going for right here. So we have this entire city scene. Creating a whole row of buildings in the front. If you go back and look at the 2014 Godzilla poster, they did that there. They created a Godzilla that looked like it could almost step on the entire city with 1 foot. But that, as big as that Godzilla was, he wasn't quite, in fact, very large. He was not that large. It's just sort of like poster language, exaggerate to the point that everyone has to stop and take notice. So there we go. It really puts the city in the forefront. Windows. There we go. All those little windows. Of course, this is a 5-minute challenge, so these are not going to be exactly architecturally accurate buildings. They just need to look reminiscent of buildings. There we go. Oh! Uh-oh. I still wanted to apply the girth on the body and apply my signature. And there we go. What do you think about that for a giant Krampus invading the city? Is that scary enough for you? I don't know that anybody in this city is going to wind up with presents this year. Oh. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this drawing. And if you did enjoy this as well as the holiday video entire, will you not please scratch that like button and toll that bell so you can be ready, willing, and salivating for the very next episode of The Real Monster D. Stay monstrous.